Hey everybody, Pastor Doug here, and with my tall friend, Pastor Tall Doug, we're bringing you this week's midweek Bible study, and really glad to be back under our normal format with all the traveling and everything, so-called flying that he's doing, but really glad to have my buddy back.
I got 8 more months, then I retire, so
Wow.
then you'll be stuck with me all the time.
Yeah.
You'll be hoping for me to go for a trip.
Encourage you to take a little time away.
Is it time for you to go to work again?
But really glad to be with you today, and we're talking about a new series that I began, Unshakable, Thriving, no matter what the world throws at you. And I'm telling you what, this series, as you'll see, if you were part of it on Sunday, you'll notice that the scriptures have been about doubled up from what I normally do. And the structure is more of a teaching type of structure about what actually happened back in those days, and then how does it apply to our lives now. And what I think is so amazing is that one of the main scriptures that I use, I'm going to ask Doug to share it with you now, though, comes from Isaiah. And understand how old this scripture is, but how accurate it is to what we're facing now in our world.
Yes, sir. And the prophet Isaiah, he lived 700 years BC. So this is, do the fast math, over 2,700 years ago, and it applies today. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
What does that mean to you? What does that mean?
Well, they just have confused the issue. They've confused good for bad, light for dark, and they want it to be what they want it to be. They have their own version, their own interpretation of what is good and what is evil.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what? Is that not accurate with what the world is today? What we're seeing? I say this all the time, and I struggle to not get political, because I really don't want to get political. You can't argue about politics. You can't argue about religion. And so that's not my thing. So I don't want to do that, because quite frankly, I think lots of parties, all of them have problems. There's no question about it. We didn't get to this point in our life and in our world and in our government by just one side not doing right. It's been a group effort, and they've done a really good job, in my opinion, of messing things up. And so this is where we are. And so either we start pointing fingers about whose fault it is, or we come up with solutions. So my thinking is, we've got to figure out, as Christians, as believers, as people, as citizens of the United States, how we're going to react to all of this. And we can get mad, we can point fingers and place blame, but that doesn't really accomplish anything. So I think it's really, really important to understand how God wants us to face this. And there's no better example in the Bible about how to face adversity than what Daniel went through in his life.
Absolutely. I mean, taken as essentially a prisoner, as a team, and then making the most of it, not just surviving, but thriving.
I was thinking too, and I even mentioned it on Sunday, Brody, my grandson, will be 14, his next birthday coming up. And so not much older than Daniel was actually 15 when he was taken captive and hostage. Now imagine this. Imagine you, even at your age, being pulled out of your environment, of your life, out of your world. You know, some of the Ukrainian people are facing those kind of things right now where, their livelihoods are gone. Their homes are blown up. Their jobs are over. They're bailed out. Take the clothing on your back and some things and head out to someplace safe. We have no concept in the United States of what that feels like. No idea of how bad that would be or how upsetting it might be. But the fact is that we are still facing a lot of upheaval and a lot of changes in our world of things that we're used to that used to be okay. What we used to think is good, now some of those things are being called evil. And some of the things that we believe to be evil are now being called good. And we as Christians, as believers, have to stand firm on what we believe and understand what God is teaching us. There's no better way to analyze things than through what God says in his holy word, how he's teaching us to live, what he's suggesting we do, and how we are to think about life. Because things will get turned upside down. You will be faced with challenges. The greatest power in the world is the power of opinion and what's actually cool, what's happening right now, what people, the trends, the fads. Look at the shoes and stuff people wear or the clothing they wear. You see styles come in and styles go out. And I was just watching a special about the Fab Five, the basketball team from Michigan, and what they did. And those were the guys that began the baggier trunks kind of thing. They were the guys actually that first went to the black socks. I don't know if you know that or not. They started wearing black socks, and then other people started doing it. And now, if you notice, if you follow basketball like I do, I have those shorts there that from Cantner from back in our high school days and how little and tiny they were. And then as time progressed, the shorts got longer and longer and longer, and they were down past your knees. Now, if you follow any sports, they're starting to come back up a little bit, get a little what I would call a little bit more reasonable. But times change and situations change. But what stays the same? What never changes? What is a constant? What is a constant, Doug, in your life that you have found to be steady and is always the same?
Well, it's an easy answer. That's God. He's never changing. But if I can digress a little bit and go back to when you mentioned politics and religion, those are things that are very emotional, very passionate. People have their opinions, and they actually argue and fight about them. And the old definition that I heard and I liked a lot about politics, it's the art of compromise. You've got two different sides that you have to work together and you get something done. And now in terms of good being evil, we have taken it to my side or no side. It's my way or the highway. So the group that's in power, whether we're talking about politics today or 4 years ago, they're in charge, and it's kind of there's no compromise anymore. We're just going to do things my way. And I think the same thing can happen in religion. People, I think, who are non-believers are not familiar with Christianity, particularly our church. They think, oh, you're just going to make me do things I don't want to do. That's not the way it is. We will give you the information. I'd like to say plant a seed. And, if you're curious, you can get some more information. If it works for you, great. This is not we're going to beat you over the head and make you see things our way. It's not like we're going to make it our good. You got to believe our good, and you might look at it as evil. So things are turned upside down. But if you go back to God, God is the standard bearer. He's the one that states the standard of what's good. Because I might think something's good, you might think something else is a little bit different, but still good, and we might be off a little bit. But, go across the world. How many millions of opinions about what's good and what's wrong? God knows what's good and tells us clearly in his Bible, in the book.
Well, think about this. Think about the challenge to have scriptures that are going to be accurate throughout the years, throughout the thousands of years from now. How hard that would be. And then you have all kinds of people coming from all kinds of backgrounds, all types of training, all types of religion, and then you're trying to find a standard line that's going to make sense for thousands of years. That's what's so unique about the Bible, because it's still accurate today. It still applies to our lives. The basic tenets of our belief are true, and they're unchanging, and there are standards there. I often battle and think about, the different consciousness that we have. My conscience tells me what I think is right and wrong. And I wonder, is Doug's the same as mine? Well, I would say they're probably similar, but we're not totally all the same. And sometimes things that we get into, I like what Pastor Rick Warren says, is some things aren't necessarily wrong. They're just not necessary. And so that's what we should be doing in our lives. We're constantly evaluating. I say this all the time in my prayers. Lord, look, if there's anything in my life that's unpleasing to you, you need to let me know. Make me aware of it. I want to be the person that you want me to be. I want to live in your favor. So I want to have your blessing on my life. And in order to do that, I need to be pleasing to you. So I'm constantly working on that. And I'm constantly trying to be the person I believe God wants me to be based on what I call the light that he gives me, the information that he shares with me. And so I'm a major work in progress, and I think we all kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that sometimes we evolve a little bit in our belief and our thinking, and we change a little bit. And so I have tried to establish a lifestyle that you couldn't point a finger at and say, well, boy, Pastor Doug does this. So I avoid a lot of things because I don't want to be a stumbling block to anybody, because that can happen. Because if they say, well, Pastor Doug does it, so it must be okay. But really, maybe in their life, it could be a problem. You guys know, I've said this before, I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life. But what my thinking is? I'm not saying I'm super proud of that and that's a major mark that I should be happy about. I am. I feel good about that. But at the same time, maybe I would have been an alcoholic. Maybe that's what the tendency would have been, and God kept me from that because that's what he wanted in my life. And that was okay, and that fits for me, but it may not fit for you, it may not fit for the next guy. But that's kind of the way it is. So some of the things we look at in life, we are works in progress. And I think that's a good mentality to be thinking about. So do not allow, and this is part of the point of this message about thriving during unshakable times when things are shaken up in your lives. Do not allow the world to set the narrative for you. Do not establish that, well, if it says it on the news, if enough people are saying it over and over again, it must be true. You have to have a baseline for your life. What do you use as a baseline for your life of what you think is okay and not okay?
Well, I think I usually use my own reasoning, but that's based on not on me and how smart I think I am, because I know I'm not. So it was partly on how I was raised, and I was raised in Christianity. So, if there's ever any debate within my own skull, I always have to revert back to, what does God want? And I think that typically becomes clear. But one of the things that always surprises me when I have a thought and make a decision and it goes well, and I think, oh, I did that the right way. And I think to myself, wait a minute, did I have that thought? Or did God put that thought there for me? Who's getting credit for it? Like, yeah, I'm so good. I'm so smart. I did the right thing. Well, hopefully I'm trying to have God direct my path. And if I allow that, then he's the one who's actually giving me the good ideas.
That's so cool. In our church staff here in our office and our meetings and stuff, oftentimes, and it's kind of an ongoing joke that somebody will have an idea and they'll say something about it, and then a couple minutes later I'll bring it up as if it's my idea, and then we talk about it, we all laugh. But God plants ideas in your head. God can lead you and direct you. What I have learned, the best way to do it, the best way to deal with this is I'm just constantly going to God for direction. Lord, I'm not smart enough to know. I say this all the time, and I would encourage you to think this way. If a door is open, Lord, present these opportunities to me. If you open the door, I'm going to go through. If you don't want me there or to do that, you need to close the door. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. So I defer from my judgment to the judgment of my Creator. And you may say, well, wow, I want my own freedom. I can remember folks years and years ago talking about Christianity. I don't want anybody telling me what to do and what I can do and can't do. And, if you go back to the basic roots of Christianity, it's about humility. It's about understanding our weaknesses and our shortfalls and the things in our lives that don't raise us to the level of God, because God knows. Why would we not lean on somebody who knows the future, who created us with a plan and a purpose? All of this just makes so much good sense. It sounds good. It sounds reasonable, but it's really hard to live because we want to do things our way sometimes, don't we?
Sure. We don't want anyone telling us what to do. As children, your parents, of course, tell you. Then teachers
how about that
tell
pilot you. Back if they're saying fasten your seatbelt, return to your seats or whatever?
You have to listen to him. He knows what's best.
He knows what's best for that time.
No,
right?
Just like your parents. You may not like it, but it's for your own good. It's for your safety, because that's when you can get hurt. No matter how much the plane's bouncing around, if you're strapped in, you'll be okay. If you're walking around, you can bounce off the ceiling and get seriously injured. So it's all about what's best for you, and God knows what's best.
Well, and it's kind of like this. I said this in my message, that we correct our children because we love them. A lot of times we have to redirect them, and We have to share with them things that aren't okay to do. And we do that because we love them, because we know what outcomes could be. Is that any different than what God does in his leading of us? It's exactly what he does. He's directing us because he loves us. He's sharing his word with us because we need to know this is how it works. This is how to best protect yourself. This is how to best live. I'm really excited about this series. I can't wait. We're going to next week start to get into Daniel's life in detail. And some of the things happen in this remarkable life. It's really going to be fun. I hope you can continue to join us. And also, hopefully, that you can be here on Sunday as we get together. Doug, real quickly, tell them about the men's program that you have going on, that special event on Saturday.
Saturday, May 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to do sort of a modified, we'll call it a mini men's conference. There are 4 videos. They're not very long. They range, I think, from 12 minutes to maybe 30 minutes long. 4 different speakers, 3 pastors. One gent is a former military type, talking about leadership. But they're all different subjects. And the idea is to watch a short video, have a short discussion, do it again, break for lunch, do 2 more, and call it quits. But it has a lot of good information for men.
Good. And that date again is?
May 14th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Lunch is provided.
Sounds good. I might have to sneak in here on that.
Okay.
God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. I hope to see you next Sunday where I take on part 2 of Unshakable, this new series I'm in. God bless you. Have a great day. Thanks.